voice up in my head. Lie to myself lying beside her in my bed. Paint over pictures you left behind. I'd punch the walls if it would make you change your mind. How could I do what I've done if I'm in love? You know I did what I did, you loaded the gun.
Good afternoon, Toros Nation and everybody. How are y'all doing? My name is Edson Ochoa, and today I am accompanied by my co-host, Jacob Young. Jacob, how are you doing, brother?
Doing pretty well. I'm not doing too bad, especially after a win against our real rivals, El Paso.
Ouch. Ouch. You went there.
I mean, there was more fireworks than there were against San Antonio.
Wow. Those are fighting words, Jacob, especially when Harry's on the chat. And and when we've got the guys from the Three Birds Boldcast on the line. How are you doing, guys?
Pretty good, man. What's really going on? How you doing, man? We're doing pretty well over here.
That's good to hear. So, guys, our fans of Down in the Valley, be sure to give a huge warm welcome in the chat to the Three Birds Boldcast. Today, it's going to be a really fun show. So, we're going to be talking about the upcoming match that's coming up this Saturday, the last Copa Tejas match for RGVFC, not necessarily for Austin Bold, but it's pretty much down to the wire. This match is really important. This match can define whoever wins this match will win Copa Texas, whether it's RGVFC or Austin Bold. If it is a draw, it all goes down to their last Copa Texas match next week against El Paso Locomotive. So, guys, welcome back. It's been, a couple of weeks since the last time that you guys have been on the show. What's been going on with the Bold ever since then?
Man, it's been a little bit up and down, but it's been pretty good over here. I mean, we lost our $2 beer night, so that's pretty depressing, but everything's been on the up and up, and we're looking a little confident, but at the same time, things have been a little bit bumpy on the defensive ends that we're not used to, but it's starting to look like it's starting to mellow out here after a while.
It's interesting, but you mentioned that it's an up and down season for Austin. Yet, if I'm not mistaken, you guys are currently in 4th place in the Western Conference, around there. 4th place, yes, that's correct.
Yes, sir, 4th place.
It's really interesting, that even with this, because we have to admit, I think the only team that has been consistent almost all season has been Phoenix Rising. Other than that, it's been a really competitive Western Conference for a lot of teams. The fact of the matter is, believe it or not, mathematically, even a team like Tulsa can somehow make it. They have to make the best matches for the rest of the season, but they can still mathematically make the playoffs. It's really, like I said, other than Phoenix Rising, it's up for anybody to make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
and,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Continue.
Oh, no, I was just saying that is definitely, I know it doesn't sound like an up and down season, but when you're 2-6-4 away, and at home you're 8-2-3, it definitely feels that way, man. So hopefully, that cluttered West starts to kind of thin itself out here after a while, man. So we'll see. You
know what's interesting though? It's like not just in USL, but in U.S. soccer in general. You have that tendency where teams will be very, very difficult to beat at home, and will struggle a lot away, because RGVFC is the same. We are 6-4-3 at home. You guys beat us at home 1-0 last time, and away we are 1-7-4. And the fact of the matter is, those kind of tendencies. Austin Bold having 8 wins at Circuit of the Americas, and RGVFC struggling to get a positive result away. It's gonna be a pretty good match. But here's the thing though. At least, like, to me, it's not. I don't think it's going to be an easy task for the Bold to be able to squeak by a win. Just ask San Antonio. Harry, how are you doing? He's just in the chat, guys. Don't worry about it. Jacob, what are your thoughts on this upcoming match?
Well, it's pretty interesting considering how long ago we played Austin Bold at HEB Park. This team to me is very different. Both teams actually very different, as I believe the last time that we played Austin, that was kind of their hot streak to get where they are now in the playoff hunt. And of course, well, it's grown. This team has grown. Of course, that was right at the brink of us losing Malik Foster, I believe, and Michael Salazar. And so our bench warmers had to really get ready for prime time, and they weren't ready at that point. So it's going to be a very different match than the first time that we played.
So I want to get y'all's thoughts, Irving and Elvis. I want to get y'all's thoughts on that last match that happened on June 23rd, where Austin Bold defeated the Toros at home. You know, going into this match, you guys were confident that you guys could get the result at HEB Park, but did you really expect for things to played out the way that they did?
To stay with you on where it's going to be a tough match over here, because if you remember what happened the last time we played, we were pretty nervous because we felt like it was a must-win game, because at that time our road record was pretty god-awful. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, still is, and we were telling ourselves that, man, we don't know if we can even get a win, and I felt like y'all were pretty confident at the time that y'all are doing pretty well at home. And so where we're at now, I mean, we were excited to get that win, that last one, because honestly, me personally, being Elvis, I didn't know if we were going to get it because our road record was so god awful, and we don't know how to show up away games. And so, I mean, we were pretty happy for that win. I mean, I know I was surprised. Can't speak for my brother, but for me, I was surprised. And pretty much y'all are on the same shoes that we were that time, where I think, you know, anything can happen, especially being basically almost a championship for the Copa Tejas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, one of the things that kind of caught me off guard, because this was a match where it seemed to me that the Bold had more opportunities, like dangerous opportunities on goal. Austin Bold had 12 shots and 7 of those on target in that match. You know, but you know, it took them a long time to be able. Actually, no. It took the first half. You know, they're continuously pressing. They weren't able to get through on Nico Corti's goal, and then the second half came, and you know, 4 minutes later, you know, Andre Lima gets a shot on goal. It was an interesting play. I think it was after a mistake by Robert Coronado, I think, if you recall correctly, Jacob. Mm-hmm. And other than that, you know, after that, the Bold continued to dominate the dangerous opportunities. But what really struck me was the ease at which the Austin Bold players got into our players' heads. It seemed that as the second half went through, our players were less and less concentrated in trying to score the equalizer, rather than trying to argue with the ref or trying to get back at a Bold player for an inconspicuous foul or contact that they had made to them a couple of plays before. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I definitely not going. Not definitely agree with you. Definitely agree with you on that. But I think a lot of teams, I think this whole season has actually played against the Bold have been put in that situation. I guess I don't know if it's the veteran savvy of Lima, because I know Lima can get under a lot of people's skin, and I think who knows, that might have been a part of the game plan, because just after that one goal, yeah, they definitely tightened up a little bit, and and try to do their best to get in their head, I guess, as you said earlier.
Yeah, and taking advantage that you're going up against a couple of young kids, most of them barely getting out of college or barely had like 1 year of professional soccer experience. It was going to make it a lot easier for them to lose their concentration in these kind of matches. And it's one of the things I've always talked about when it comes to one of the gripes that I have with the way the Dynamo have built this Toros team is it's full of young guys. You don't have a leadership experience, not only in USL or MLS, those kind of, higher level play experience in that to control these guys when you go up against teams that also have a lot of experience. And I think that kind of leadership to cool them down, to make them regain their concentration was needed. And I'm honestly concerned that this kind of play might be an issue for the Toros this Saturday as well. Jacob, I just saw you. It looked like you're disagreeing with me. Why is that?
Well, because when I think it was the last time that we talked to Eric Bird, I know, of course, he has no idea if he's coming back down or staying in Houston or anything like that, or coming up to Austin is what I really meant to say. But if he is, that's part of leadership. Another thing is Connor Donovan. Did you see what Connor Donovan did to Chuy Enriquez last week when Chuy Enriquez was trying to talk to the ref to try to escalate things to the next level?
Oh, I saw that. I remember that. Just pushed him.
I think we have leadership. It's just a matter of they need to start. We need to make sure that, of course, you have the right lineup. We have those players to lead a team. The question is, will coach be able to put them in the lineup?
Yeah, and one of the things, looking back at the 18 for the Toros in that match against Austin at home, you look at it and you see Connor Donovan on the bench, and you wonder, while I understand that maybe Kyle and Robert Castellanos might have been at that time, had, better growth or something like that, had better performances. I think the kind of experience that he's had in MLS with Orlando, I think that would have helped out just a little bit the Toros in that match. And I think this time it'll be key, like you said, if we can get Connor Donovan like he has been in the last couple of weeks on the starting 11 for this team, hopefully things might be a little different. And I do recall that play that you're mentioning against El Paso Locomotive, where Chuy Enriquez was ready to yell at the ref, and Connor Donovan just pushes him away and tells him, like, dude, just. I remember. I think it was when they gave the red card to I think it was Turpak.
Yeah, exactly. When they gave him the second yellow.
Yeah. So Elvis, who has been, in these past couple of matches, who has been the most important player on this team, the most consistent that we have to look for?
Man, right now, to be honest with you, it's Chris Tierpak, man. He's earned his spot on the 11 right now, man. Not only with assists, not only with goals, but putting in some assists as well. He's pretty much the motor, man. However he goes, I think the team goes with him. So definitely him and Lima. I think pretty much Lima and Tierpak have been, the constant starters here for the past 4 games or so. Yeah, because Coach, he's been, I don't know, man, every week it's a shoot when it comes to the lineup. But definitely one constant has always been Tierpak and Lima, who also, both lead the team in goals, 6 and 9. So definitely the guys that we look forward to. Look for.
Wait, so you mentioned that your coach does a lot of squad rotation throughout the weeks?
Oh yeah, definitely. But also with injuries though. Let's not go ahead and don't say anything about that. But there's definitely been injuries. So, but it's definitely a revolving door. Let's say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really that's really interesting to notice, and kind of makes their performance, Austin Bolt's performance, that more meritorious, because not many teams can handle squad rotations throughout a tournament and still continue to perform consistently in said tournament. I mean, just take a look at Mexico with Juan Carlos Osorio. It's like nobody knew what everybody was doing there and those kind of things, and it's just you mentioning is thus makes it maybe a little bit more dangerous, because it's going to be interesting for Coach Echeverry to analyze, the Austin Bolt's tactics to see how to put our Toros on the field when he's got to look at not only like a consistent starting 11, but he's got to look at other players that have been brought into the mix in these past couple of matches. And now you're wondering, well, out of these, who are the ones that are really going to be going out there in this Saturday that I really have to look out for, kind of thing. So he's going to have to kind of be a little bit flexible and pretty much wait for anything. Jacob?
Yeah, I definitely agree. You kind of have to wait. If Austin Bolt is doing exactly that, where they're basically staying, not necessarily having the exact same lineup game in and game out, where they're having different players, well, of course, it's going to be difficult. It's just like, I believe, maybe Sac Republic or someone, or Reno, either one that always love to move their team formation basically all around.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're thinking about that, well, then Jerson's probably going to have to say, well, if they do this type of lineup, if Austin does this type of lineup, if they do this type of formation, well, then, of course, I'm going to have to do this or that. But, of course, we won't know until we already set our lineup and they set theirs. And so it's a guessing game. Austin Bold, I think, will get that correct in the sense of, well, they'll just give coach a tough time to choose a lineup / formation.
But guys, has it been a constant formation change, or is it just personnel change?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. But also it's mostly due to injuries, man. But we're just here getting a few guys back. So there've been some constant guys, but definitely formation changes for sure. It's just not players. So, but he's the 3-5-2. He's gotten a little bit. I guess he stuck with that there for a little bit. So that was pretty much one of the constant ones we like to stay with. So.
3-5-2.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's when you see it, it's like it's kind of weird, especially when we talked about speed being a big, I guess, the kryptonite for our club, and then he comes out with 3 at the back, and sometimes you get some scary moments, but those guys, they I don't know how to really explain it to you, but. Yeah, it has some scary movements. Like I said, they've allowed like 6. Let me see. They've had 1 shutout and been shut out 6 times. So it's like I said, it's hard to watch sometimes, but we'll see how it goes with this one.
One of the things that I'm looking at right now for Austin Bolt. So the past 5 matches, you got a 1-0 win against Fresno FC. You drew 2-2 against New Mexico United. Then you lost against LA Galaxy 2 at home, 3-1. Blew out 5-1 the Tulsa Roughnecks at home, and then lost at OKC 4-2. And it just goes to show, like you mentioned, it's these stark differences. But I want to focus on the LA Galaxy 2 match, because this was at home. What happened there? What went wrong with the Bold in that match?
Well, brother likes to blame me for not being there. I was out of town, so right now I messed that up and lost our $2 beer night that night. So he likes to blame me for that loss, and I'll take that. But Kidding aside, it was just it was a different lineup, and sorry about that. And red cards, man. Red cards kill you. It's just something, I don't know. It's just being down, and just they dug themselves into a hole pretty much, really, and they can't get out of it. So, and then 2 late red cards. It's just pretty, just put them out of it. Really, to tell you the truth, it was just a bad game. So.
And I'm noticing as well that the USL had them in a 4-3-3 formation in that match. But I think what kind of catches my eye here is, number one, you took out Javi Baez in the 29th minute, so really early in the match. Not sure if it was a tactical decision or an injury that happened to him.
He had a quad knock there.
A quad knock in there.
Yeah.
So that's a substitution that you had to burn through early. But also the fact that one of the red cards was your captain, Jermaine Taylor.
Yeah.
And it kind of, and the reason it catches my eye is because, as a captain, you're told, you're supposed to set the example. And, given that red card, I'm not sure what the circumstances of it was, but the fact is, it's showing it as a direct red card, so it must have been a little bit aggressive.
It was just studs up challenge, man. It's a little late. It is what it is. It's one of those things where you're already in motion, I guess, and you really once you're in motion already, there's not much you can do to stop. So that's pretty much what that one. And the other one was second yellow
by DeMar Phillips. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Correct. So, guys, any questions regarding the Toros you guys want to talk about or ask?
Well, really, man, since we last talked, I've seen I've had numerous different kinds of goal scorers, so really kind of hard to key in on one. But for y'all, who's y'all's guy right now? Who's in form?
I think right now in form, I would say it would be Carlos Esmal. Even though he missed a 1v1 last Saturday, I think he has been the one that has been a little bit more consistent when it comes to creating dangerous plays, being able to score goals against San Antonio. Sorry, Harry, if I'm torturing you, but against San Antonio, he was able to get the 2-1 and pressured the defender enough to create that own goal opportunity. And honestly, him coming off of the bench, brought a spark to the team against San Antonio, even with being one man down away, in Toyota Field in San Antonio, was able to give that spark to the rest of the team to not only find the 2 unanswered goals and keep San Antonio from getting any kind of decent opportunity on goal in the second half. Michael Salazar, yes, right now is also one of our top goal scorers, but ever since he's been coming back from the Houston Dynamo, when he's been loaned down, he's been kind of inconsistent. He did score a goal against who was it? Was it? It wasn't Real. No, it wasn't Real Monarchs. Let me get that for you, because he scored a goal. Who did we lose last time away, Jacob?
Last time away, we lost. Dang.
Colorado. I remember now. Colorado
Yeah.
Springs. So he was able to. He scored a goal against Colorado Springs, but against San Antonio, he was pretty much cold, you can say. He wasn't inspired as he usually was, and I think against Upasa Locomotive as well. Obviously, him and Carlos were trying to get used to the new formation of playing 2 up on top. So that's going to be another incognito for this Saturday, whether Coach Echeverry will want to continue to work on that two in the top formation, or if he's going to go back to his trusted 4-2-3-1 formation.
Yeah.
Jacob?
Yeah. And I'd say the reason why really Michael Salazar isn't inspired per se is also due to the fact that he seems like he keeps getting injured every single game now. Like, at least he's one of the reasons why the refs have to blow a play dead for a while. So that's, of course, one thing that hurts RGVFC as well as Houston, because Michael Salazar was supposed to be Houston's kind of replacement and help. And, of course, now he's back down here. So that's a tough thing right there for just RGV in general to deal with, is that will Michael Salazar be able to play a full 90 or something like that? Good news, though, is that RGVFC now have another player. Forget exactly which position he plays now.
Deshane Beckford. He's a midfielder.
Yeah, Beckford, midfielder, exactly. And he also looks like he can really be a huge playmaker and really be able to dribble into the box and see if he can find an opening with Chuy, Carlos Small, or even Salazar, as we mentioned. So, yes, the front line seems more lethal than we have seen in a while for RGVFC, in my opinion. And the defense has been pretty good. They just need to, of course, still fix things. Same thing with offense. You talk about defensive side, set pieces. What's going to happen there? If Austin Bold FC decide to take a lot of set pieces or get lucky with a lot of set pieces, well, then RGVFC could find themselves down early.
Yeah, and I think that's been our biggest concern throughout the season. Although I think they've been kind of improving in that aspect. And that is set pieces, defending set pieces. For a while, they were clueless for the most part on how to defend a set piece, and so a lot of teams took advantage of the aerial play to score goals against us. And I don't know how Austin Bold is effective in set pieces and attacking set pieces in that aspect. But that's something that we would need to watch for this Saturday.
Yeah, as well as crosses, because I know that RGVFC have also had to work on crosses too on offense. So those are one thing from the defense and offense that, well, Austin Bold can maybe take advantage of.
Hello?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, sorry about that. Austin's been pretty effective with set pieces this far.
Watch out from McFarland for sure.
Yeah, watch out from McFarland. I mean, they've been pretty strong from the set pieces thus far. I mean, it's actually kind of nice because for a while it was a struggle on offense trying to get everything together, and then
it's actually always been kind of a main thing for us. Actually, at the beginning of the season, when we were wondering where all the where all this firepower was, that there was so much money on the bench with the firepower, anyways, and the goals weren't coming. You could definitely find, we found a lot of those early goals from the set pieces, man.
Yeah, and so ever since the offense started to get a little bit of a cohesiveness going, the set pieces have gotten a little bit stronger, I feel like. So, yeah, that's something that we do have got going on, and you're pretty confident when our guys go up to the ball when we come up to set pieces.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good to know. Paging Coach Echeverry. So, anything else you would like to ask us about?
Yeah, man. So we're being past the halfway point of the season, and the standings are still pretty close. It don't seem like it. So how optimistic are y'all about playoffs? And How important is this Copa Tejas besides all that going on?
I think for us, and I think I have a general idea as far as the mentality of the players is that they really want to make playoffs, and they really want to win Copa Tejas. I think the mentality of these players is you want to win anything that's in front of you. Obviously, circumstances have put us in a situation where we're still like 15th in the Western Conference, but they're very optimistic that they can try and play spoiler and to a lot of these teams that are higher up in the standings and try to salvage a playoff position come mid October. And honestly, like looking at it from the fan perspective, I think it's going to be really, really, really difficult. I think it's going to be difficult for RGV to make it to the playoffs. I think they're barely going to miss it. I think maybe like by 1 or 2 points, but I feel like they're going to miss it at the end of the day. That's why I feel that maybe Copa Tejas is going to be a huge priority, especially going down, being just one game away from earning some silverware for the team. And if they're able to beat Austin in a lot of negative circumstances, Austin being much higher up in the standings, winning it away, and of course en tu cara y en tu cancha, like we say, the Tigres fans. And also, the fact is, all the circumstances of, losing your firepower with the season with Malik and Michael Salazar and having to rely on younger players that have, they have developed, they have gotten a lot better, like Kevin Rodriguez. But they've had to adapt to different play style. And even through all of that, winning Copa Tejas might serve them as a huge boost of motivation to the rest of the season to see if they can salvage a playoff spot.
Awesome. No, glad to hear it. I mean, I know down there, Coach Marcelo was on the show earlier this week, and he too was talking about how, it's important to win this Copa Tejas match himself. So good. Hopefully we get ourselves a good match. If both clubs feel that way, hopefully we're in for a good show.
I really hope so too. Jacob?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really hope so. 3, of course. The only thing that I think would make it a bad match is if Houston decide to send down the one and only Fuenmayor. I'm fine with them sending down Junco. I am actually fine because apparently he's not as dumb as Fuenmayor.
Oh.
Because Fuenmayor decides to get red card. He's just still reckless. This is his second, maybe third year in MLS.
Second year. So he's a second year, but he hasn't
learned from his mistakes. He's done it again and again. That's what the problem is.
I think
if
this
he
year
had done it and learned, it's fine.
I think this year he's had like 4 red cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that's a problem. You make it. Of course, we can't be as hard on the players, but when you've done it 4 times in one season, that's a problem, especially for a head coach in general. Talk about Wilmer having to kind of talk to him and also coach him. And then now, of course, you've got Gerson Echeverri, where Gerson's going to get after him as well. So, I mean, if this player doesn't learn, then it's pointless for him to be in soccer in general. But I guess enough hate for him. It's just the lineup needs to be there for RDFC. Right now, this lineup that they had, bring back Eric Bird for us. I think that lineup that we had against El Paso Locomotive will make it a phenomenal game. And if I had to guess, it'll probably be a draw like 2-2. but it could end up being 3-2, 3-1 for either side. Either side could either show up or not show up. I've seen it both ways for RGVFC. I've seen it both ways for Austin Bolt. So,
And I think one of the qualities that RGVFC had, and I mentioned it before, is that home or away, the Toros, excuse me, not the Dynamo. The Dynamo never do this, but the Toros play the same kind of style. The same. They have the same motivation. The same heart put into their match. They're gonna fight for every ball, home or away. They're not gonna make it easy for the other team to be able to run away with it, because now we have had happen where the Toros might, like early in the match, might be 2-0 down or 3-0, but if you saw it against San Antonio, you saw it against Real Monarchs. They made those teams work for their win. Against Real Monarchs, they were like 3-0 down, and if it weren't, and they were able to get 2 back. Now they got scored on twice more, but the fact, or was it 3? Was it 5-3?
yeah, I think it was 5-3, something ridiculous
yeah.
like that.
So the fact of the matter is, like, you cannot count the Toros out no matter what, because they have the guts to not give up, even when circumstances or anybody say, oh, they're down and out for the count. They're never going to give up. They're always going to fight for it. And I think that is something that the Bold, they need to take care of, because San Antonio made the mistake of saying, oh, 2-0 down, they're down a man, and they totally let their foot off their gas. And what happened? By the time they got the equalizer, it was too late to react.
No, definitely. No, now that you say that, I'm hoping, that'll happen to the old Teals. Because, every once in a while through the season, they've gotten up, at halftime and things have looked good, and then, a brain fart here at the end of, in the closing minutes, something happens and they end up, with maybe just a tie or no points at all. So, but I will say this though, despite the formation changes and the lineup changes and injuries, they've been able to keep an 8-2-3 record at home, man. So hopefully they we see more of that at home. So we'll see how it goes. I know that Tierpeck, I'm sure, is going to be a starter. I know Lima's probably definitely going to get in there, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right. And anything else before we start talking about predictions?
No, go ahead.
All righty then. So predictions for this Copa Tejas match on Saturday, and we'll start with our guests.
Elvis, I have Austin Bold. I think we pull it out 2-0. I know Lima's pretty upset. I feel like he's gonna want to rub the dirt off from last week, from the butt kicking we got from OKC. He missed the PK. He got an own goal. So I think Bold comes out mad, and I think they take care of it 2-0.
No, definitely. I actually, after like everything that we talked about, really, man, it's feeling pretty confident. I think actually, I'm looking also about 2-0 score too myself. I think Tierpeck gets both of them actually. So, but it'll definitely be a scrappy. It'll be a scrappy match, man. I know the last one was a really tough match, so I'm definitely gonna expect the same on this one.
Jacob?
I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. Yes, RGV pull a classic RGV being down 2-0 early, but they come back and tie it up late in the game, forcing it to the last Copa Tejas match for Austin Bold to see what happens there.
So we're gonna have to rely on El Paso defeating Austin Bold
That's
next week.
Impossible too.
Is that going, guys? Is that going to be an away match for you guys, or is it going to be home?
No, it's okay. So we play here. The last 4 games I think. I think that's one of those.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this is my prediction. I think it's going to be a 2-1 win. A 2-1 win by RGV. And I think it's going to be at the very last minute. I think it's going to be a stoppage time goal. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a really tight match where Austin Bold is going to go up first. And then RGV managed to find an equalizer in the middle of the second half. And I think it's gonna be off a set piece, because I will tell you this. Chalin, Isidro Martinez has been pretty accurate with his crosses off of set pieces, whether it's a free kick or a corner kick. Just ask San Antonio and El Paso.
I'll let Henry have
So I think that's how it's gonna. I think that's how it's gonna play off. 2-1 win at the last minute for RGV, and we win Copa Tejas. Now, bold predictions. Elvis Irving.
Bold prediction?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it 4-0?
4-0 blowout. All right.
For me, we start $2 beer nights back up and we win even crazier, man. That's my bold prediction. Bold prediction? Yeah. Damn. 3-0 win.
3-0 win. Jacob?
Bold prediction. I'm going to say 5-4 Toros somehow pull it out of the bag. And things start to get heated. Why are there so many goals? Well, because a couple of players had been sent off from each team. And what I mean by that is, they got red cards, and sure enough, because the teams got penalties. So yes, a couple of penalties being scored on both sides, leading it to a high scoring game.
I think my bold prediction is going to be a 3-0 loss for RGV. That's my bold prediction, and it's going to be because the Dynamo sent too many players down, which will mess up the chemistry of this team that has built up.
Yeah, it's bold and also likely to. That's the scary part.
That's the worst part, man. That's really the worst part. Is that actually can happen. # blame Dynamo.
Yeah.
So, guys, before we go ahead and let y'all go, tell us a little bit about your podcast. Where can they find you? What days do you guys usually run? And social medias.
Right now, we are on SoundCloud, and it's at Three Birds Boldcast, and we try to. It's wishy-washy since we work so dang much, but usually we try to record on Mondays and put it out on Monday night. And we're trying a little bit. We're trying to get on more platforms, and we'll just see where it goes. We're in the works for doing all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Of course. I do kind of. I think what was it? What is it? I know I was able to get Spotify really easily. I think you just have to give them your SoundCloud RSS link. So that might actually be a good platform for you guys to expand upon. But keep on doing what you guys are doing. I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job covering the Teals. We've seen you all grow as this season has progressed, and we're really amazed at that. And like I said, anytime you guys want to come on when there's going to be an Austin Bold versus RGVFC match, you guys are always welcome to hop on a show. Of course.
Absolutely. Thanks for the invite. And question for y'all guys coming up? Are y'all gonna make the road trip?
I wish I could make the trip to Austin, but it's rent day. So
The
yeah.
San Antonio.
Yeah, I went to San Antonio last weekend, and then I made the trip to or actually two weekends ago I made the trip to San Antonio. This past weekend I went to RGV, so I'm kind of a little bit spent to go back to Austin. Like I said, I really would have wanted to go since Houston is 3 hours away, but I don't think I'd be able to afford another hotel for Saturday and Sunday. And it would have been awesome because it's Labor Day on Monday, so I wouldn't have to go to work. So
That's right.
but it is
No, but
what it is.
Yeah, no, that's all right, man. Appreciate you, man, and thank you for having us as well. I know you're amongst the first that actually welcomed us when we started this, so definitely, thank you for having us too as well. Letting us come on your airways and talk a little footy with y'all.
No problem. But before we let y'all go, you know what I've been thinking? As far as I know, this rivalry, this Austin Bold versus RGVFC, doesn't have a name.
No, it doesn't. I've been trying to think of one actually to throw it on out there on the social media, but I'm having a hard time myself. But
Yeah.
as far as the name's concerned, anyways.
Something
I
will
guess
come
it
up.
could, to me, it could be the battle of fake name places. Because technically, RGVFC, yes, that's correct, but they call themselves in Edinburgh. It's actually Lopezville. Where's the stadium at for the Teals? It's technically in Elroy, Texas. And it's the battle of the two fake names.
Seems legit. So what? So Dallas is because it's Frisco.
Yeah, exactly. That Dallas is in Frisco.
It'd be.
It's
You know what?
actually in Houston.
You know what? It would actually be an interesting activity. Maybe like for the off season, I think it'd be great to kind of do like a little question on social media to kind of come up with a rivalry name, because I think that this rivalry is here to stay. It's not going to replace the San Antonio rivalry. It's but the fact of the matter is it's still they're still close enough to each other that, and if the games continue to be as hardcore as the first one was, I think we're on to something here. So I think the best thing for it, and the thing, it would be to give it some kind of name that both fans can agree on.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
Jermaine Taylor rivalry.
I watched the last
There's
match.
the
It definitely seemed like it can blossom into a hell of a rivalry, man. It was a tough, hard-nosed game, to say the least. So definitely deserves one deserving of a name for sure.
Of course. All right, guys. Well, we'll go ahead and let you go. Once again, thank you for accepting the invite to come on the show, and may the best team win on Saturday. And we'll see if we can won't have to wait until October for a Copa Tejas winner.
Definitely, but appreciate you for having us as well.
All right, guys. Well, have a good night, and we'll see each other on the next one.
All right, buddy. Good shows. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night. Well, guys, that was the Copa Tejas Austin Bold versus RGVFC talk with Irving and Elvis from the Three Birds Boldcast. Let's take a look at what the chat is saying right now. So Johnny says his prediction is Toros win 3-1. Chelin, Isidro Martinez scores. He says Chelo and Chuy will score. And his bold prediction, take a look at this, Jacob. Diego Restrepo will throw a tantrum and get carded.
Yes, that's right. He's been one to have lost his cool
Against his own fans. That's the worst part. Just ask San Antonio. The empty seats derby. There it is, Johnny. Empty seats derby. Johnny also says that they will have a rep going to the game for the game. So I don't know if he means like a rep for the Stampede. Are you guys going to be making the trip to Austin or no, Johnny? I'm just kind of curious to see if you guys are going to be making the trip there as well. I know there was a decent showing of Stampede members against San Antonio, and that was actually pretty fun. We actually saw Wilmer Cabrera that day, but so here's the funny thing. So I went to where Stampede was tailgating before the San Antonio match. And I was talking to Johnny, I was talking to Michael and everybody there that was there. And all of a sudden, like I'm turned facing the stadium. All of a sudden, like they're like, "Hey, coach, how you doing?" And I turn around and I see like he had walked past. Wilmer Cabrera, senior, was walking towards the stadium, right? And so I'm like, "Oh snap!" Like, he's here? Because this was after, mind you, this was after he got fired by the Houston Dynamo. I think it was because that happened that weekday. I think it was
like that week.
Yeah, that Tuesday. It was that Tuesday, and then that Saturday that was the South Texas Derby. And so I see that, and I turn back around. I was like, "Holy crap!" Like I hope he didn't see me, right? Kind of joking around. And he's like. And they were telling me like, well, I think he did see you because I'm pretty sure had you not been there, he would have stopped by and chatted with us before. I'm like, Jesus, guys, thank you guys, thank you for making me feel so good. But
oh my gosh, yeah, I was one of the. If I was there, he probably would have stopped to chat because I was one of the ones that said, "Don't fire Wilmer."
Let's not get
because
that.
once. And real quick, Montreal Impact are up 2-1 against the Vancouver Whitecaps.
I mean, it's
so
the
Wilmer's
Whitecaps.
doing a pretty good job so far with them.
I don't know, man. I think it's too early to give a to kind of sentence if he's going to be doing good or bad with Montreal. For good and bad, I think for good and bad, it's too early to call whether he is going to be a horrible coach or a good coach for Montreal Impact, because this is barely his second or third match with Montreal. So
yeah, and he's holding tall with the team. What I mean by that is Vancouver Whitecaps beat the Houston Dynamo at Houston Dynamo, if I'm not mistaken, or they barely got a draw. Something dumb.
Right now the Houston Dynamo can't win at home either, so it's really not a parameter.
I guess.
I know I'm kind of being too hard in that aspect, but man, like that Frisco match is just I'm just frustrated at this team. And I think you may have and I think I'm going to go ahead and give you this, Jacob. I really think based on this performance, this might have been not only in some aspects a Wilmer issue, but it might have been a 60% fault on the lack of professionalism from our players.
Yep, exactly. What the heck was that Romel Kyoto or Albert Solis, the freaking dive? I think that was actually a penalty.
Oh, that was Elise, because Kyoto is being a little diva and staying here and throwing a bunch of shade on his Instagram.
Oh my gosh.
Gosh. Oh yeah. So apparently he wasn't selected to travel with the team, and he was just throwing shade all night on his Instagram. And he's. I think I saw him after the Tigres America match. Yeah. Like I saw him there. He was like, I think it was until like 1. I don't know. I saw him at pitch 25 after the match, which was interesting. I didn't really think much of it, but seeing all these social media posts, like the guy doesn't care anymore about this team.
No.
All he cares about is his social media. Like what can he post? And what can make me look kind of throw shade at this organization. The last thing he's thinking about is actual soccer, how to get back, how to win the fans back. Because you got to remember, he has already gotten on the bad side of most of the Houston Dynamo fans. And and he said sorry on social media, yada yada yada. But like they say, actions speak louder than words. And right now, his actions speak the opposite of what his words on social media said.
Exactly. He said this whole incident makes me. What did he say? He said something like it makes me wanting to be a better person or something like that.
Oh yeah.
It makes me want to even do better. And yet, once again, it's his old self. He ain't getting better. Neither is this team really caring. I've seen a couple of players that care. That's HAD.
Oh, and by the way, just a quick little thing. Kyoto locked his Twitter account again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is what he said. This is in the 9th of August. He says, I would like to say sorry to my teammates, to the fans, and with the Houston Dynamo for my actions in the match last night. I am very I am embarrassed and at the same time motivated to work harder in search of becoming, firstly, a better person and then a player that represents the values of our team and our city.
There it is. That's what he said.
So, do you see him really doing that? Hell no.
Nope. Exactly.
But anyways, this is a topic for the Peel and Generation Orange. So we'll let them talk about it.
Yeah, and I mean this could come up to be an RGVFC discussion. Why? Because if Houston are that done with him, we could see him down here.
That is actually a really good topic to talk about. Would you want this player in RGVFC? Like it's. The way I see it is, he's a very egoistic player. What he primarily, and I'm just gonna say it, primarily all Kyoto cares about is his ego. He's always stroking his ego in social media. Trying to gloat about his riches, his cars, or his sneakers, whatever. It's all about his ego. He always talks about humility and about God, but at the end of the day, it's all about his ego, right? Number one. So he's one of those players that if you send them down to second division, why are you second division for me? Hell no, right? And he is not going to put in the effort with RGVFC. He's going to be a diva. He's a diva. He'll always be a diva. There's a reason why we got him as a free agent. Olympia didn't want him. He may be a good player, but his divaness gets in the way more often than not. So what he could be an excellent Honduran player, all of his antics that he's had off of the pitch and on the pitch as well have kept him from being better than where he's at right now. And there's nobody to blame but himself. And frankly, it would be a horrible mistake if the Dynamo decide to send him down to RGV. Because you're going to stop the evolution of Chu Enriquez or Deshane. And the truth of the matter is, we don't need him. We don't need him, especially if he's not going to put in his 100% if he does get sent down here. So at the end of the day, the Houston Dynamo either have to cut him or just kind of keep him outside, because we know this player is not going to change. He's been here how many years? 3 years, I think, around there. And he's always done the same thing. When he wants to, he can play the best games of his life and give assists and goals like crazy. But once his concentration leaves and he starts thinking about something else, or his ego is damaged, we lose the player. And what's the point of having a player like that in this roster? I'm sorry, but he's going to have to go. at the end of the season, and I really do hope, which I highly doubt. I highly doubt they'll send him down to RGV, but if you do, it's going to be a huge mistake.
Yep, for sure. It's going to be a huge mistake with half this team if you want to send some of this team down. Just due to the fact that right now it's not just Kyoto at some point, it's also this team that just some of them, I feel like they don't care. Yes, Elise, I think, is one of them that could care a bit more, but doesn't. And what I mean by that is, of course, well, you see he kind of acts, where he's starting to act a bit more like Eric Kubel-Torres, where he's kind of diving now inside the box. So, I don't know. It's frustrating. Will always be frustrating. This somewhat affects RGVFC in a long haul, just due to the fact that, well, if Houston stay the way that Houston is, and what I mean by that is just the cheapness, we might not be seeing a lot of these players staying down here, and they might have to be pulled quick just due to the fact that Houston wants to spend cheaper, and they just do a couple of pulls from down here.
So here's another question for you, because it got me riled up on Sunday as I was heading back home. So a Dynamo fan made this comment on Twitter about calling up RGV players.
Yeah, I saw that too. It got me riled up.
Calling up RGV players to play minutes and for the rest of the season and replace this roster. And I told him, I told him, just because, don't mess up our roster just because the Dynamo's roster is messed up or is inept, right? Mm-hmm. And I was called selfish.
That's right.
For saying that. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Who's been this? Go ahead.
Has that person also not seen the team? Because it was a lady. Not saying anything about that, but like, as she watched the team, because they're still not ready. You're going to have the same exact problem if you put them up with Houston. I'm sorry, Chewy. I'm sorry, anyone else, but this is the truth. Y'all aren't ready just yet. Y'all need to deal with our media first. We can get you ready for that big time, but you've got to keep your freaking cool. And in my opinion, all the players need to get better before. And I'm saying one more year for sure for all these players, and they'll be fine. Are we selfish? No way. We just see this team week in and week out, and we know, A, of course, it's going to mess up our season, and B, these players aren't ready for the big time just yet. Until they basically either lose or draw against Houston Dynamo. Okay, well, I take that back now. Until they lose or draw against a Liga MX team, then we'll see.
And I'll be damned if I let our players become cannon fodder for the Houston Dynamo. Because that's what it is. This isn't about, let's be honest. This isn't about, I think these players are ready to move up to MLS. No, it's who can we blame if we don't salvage anything for the rest of the season? We're going to blame the RGV guys, and we'll say they suck and they have no place to be with the Houston Dynamo. That's what it's all about. It's not that they think they think they're good. I'm pretty sure 80% of those, I'm pretty sure that person has not watched one RGVFC match.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure I did not have the heart to continue the discussion further. But I'm pretty sure if I asked her, name me who do you want? Who do you want from my team? Who do you want from my team? Who do you want to call up? They'll have no idea who our players are, who's playing good, who's closer to being ready to getting some minutes in MLS. I'll bet you they won't. I'm being truthful.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that pisses me off as an RGV fan.
Yeah.
That you have some Dynamo fans that don't care, don't give a damn about RGV until now when they have the water up to their necks. Now all of a sudden they remember that RGV exists. Because let's not forget, how many times has the Dynamo called up players from RGV? Whether a signing or a temporary loan for Open Cup. They had no idea who these players were. Aldo Quintanilla surprised everybody last year in the Open Cup against NTX Rayados. And they're like, who is this guy? Hello? Maybe you guys would pay attention to RGV. You'd realize who Aldo Quintanilla is, who Chuy Enriquez is, who Todd Warden was.
Exactly. Which, that's actually a great transition. Now we're thinking, wasn't Aldo supposed to come back at least a game ago? Is this man going to be able to get put in the starting roster before the end of the season? Or will we have to wait until next year to see if he comes back?
Well, he's looked good. Honestly, like he's looked good when it comes to his rehabilitation, for what I've been told. They don't, obviously there's no timetable, there's no definite timetable for them to say, oh, he'll be back on the roster or like on the 18 by this date, you know, because he still has to finish, you know, being able to make rigorous exercise, you know, by itself without any pain, you know, consistently. And then he's gonna have to relearn, or not relearn, but actually get used to playing with the ball, you know, dribbling, shooting, heading. You know, he has to get his form back. So I don't know if, like you said, if he'll be back by the season. I think he may, but at the very end. But honestly, like right now, if the Dynamo continue to send Michael Salazar down, and with Carlos is small, I don't think we should rush this. I think we should let RGVFC medical staff rehabilitate Aldo at his pace. I mean, we've got depth up on top when we have those two players. If we play a 4-2-3-1 formation, you can play as well Kevin Rodriguez. You can play him as a striker as well sometimes. So there's variations in this team that can get us by until Aldo Quintanilla comes back. Because what I don't want is for it to be rushed, and he gets to play, you know, before the season ends. But if he gets injured again, what good was it to rush him? You know what I mean? So just let it. I think we should just let it roll, and see what happens. At the end of the day, it's his health that we have to look out for the sake of him and for the sake of the team. But moving on into the next topic, let's talk about this past match against El Paso Locomotive. Really great match. Going into this match, one of the things that caught my eye was the change in formation. Usually, the Gerson Echeverry usually goes with a 4-2-3-1 formation. And it has worked well for him. Surprisingly, in this match, even though the graphics said it was a 4-2-3-1 formation, in practice, this was a 4-4-2 formation for RGVFC. You had, let me get you the starting 11 for that match. Right, here we go. You had Nico Corti on goal. You had Andrew Samuels. You had Connor Donovan as captain, Robert Castellanos, Sam Junqua, Isidro Martinez, Eric Bird, Chuy Enriquez, Kevin Rodriguez, Carlos Esmal, and Michael Salazar. So a 4-4-2 formation for the Toros. And here's the most important aspect of this match. Everybody was talking about Jerome Kaisuwetter. I don't think that's how you pronounce it, but that, he's El Paso Locomotive's top scorer. I think he had 10 goals coming into this match. I did not see anything from him. Like, he was virtually non-existent throughout this match. Mm-hmm. And that just goes to show how well this team has grown defensively with Connor Donovan and Robert Castellanos as the pairing in the back. I'm not dissing Kyle Adams at all. He is a really good team. But you saw it, when Connor Donovan came in against San Antonio this past match against El Paso. They've looked solid. That line has looked solid with Connor Donovan in the back. You look at the stats, and in the attack, El Paso was limited to 9 shots on goal, only 1 of them on target. That is excellent.
Yeah, it really is excellent. It was a different team, to say so the least, from both sides, in my opinion. Yes, of course, the defense still looked they still looked like they had things to improve on, for sure. But it wasn't like they were totally out of it, for sure. The things really were just, the defense, sometimes they would make this mistake, but they were able to really get themselves out of it. An impressive thing was that Nico Corey was on his game, and that set pieces weren't necessarily that big of an issue. And then we also had on the offensive side, it was just a change of pace in a way from both sides, or from our side. And it was a nice run of form in a way. It looked good for us. More shots on goal, more shots in general were nice to see. And it really helped us, and the improvement I could kind of tell was there.
Yeah. My biggest gripe of it all, and I think we were discussing it after the match, and I know Coach Echeverry kind of touched up upon it in the post-game interview as well, was we have to be more effective with our opportunities. Carlos Esmal, what was it, the fourth? Wait, was it like the 4th minute that he had a 1-on-1 opportunity against El Paso, and he has shot went just a bit wide. Like, it's those opportunities is that when you have them, you have to put them in, because you don't know if how close this match is going to be. If that missed opportunity is the difference between 3 points and 1, or maybe even 0 points. So I think the crosses have kind of improved. I know in this match we're at 23.5, so just a little bit above the USL Western Conference average. But when those opportunities arise, you have to put it in. You have to take those opportunities seriously. I feel like the RGV could have won 2-0, maybe even 3-0.
Yes.
Against El Paso. But we have to put it in. We have to put those shots in.
Mm-hmm. And that means training the right way in practice. I know I was a sports guy at one point, as in I played basketball. I played a team sport, really. And even golf, it's the same way. Practice how you want to play. And sometimes, you're feeling off and you feel like you just want to mess around during practice. And then sometimes that becomes a routine. That's not what you want. And then, of course, when it comes down to the game time, you think, oh, I've got this in the bag. You're not necessarily going to have that in the bag. You're going to play how you practice. If you were trying to miss a goal in practice, you might probably not be able to aim correctly in game time. So it's just you've got to practice harder. You've got to take things more seriously. If you're not, if you were, well, then of course just work harder at it. Once again, it just goes back to you got to work hard and you got to work that right way.
So let's go ahead and listen to RGVFC Coach Echeverry from his post-game interview, courtesy of Ray Silva from South Texas Border Sports.
All right, Coach. 1-0 shutout win. It was due for a home shutout win. Your thoughts?
No, it's important. I think that anytime you get a shutout, it's a team effort. It starts with Corti, defenders, midfielders, all the way up to the guys up top. So I think the hard work defensively, it's important to minimize, how many chances they have. I mean, I think I'm looking at the stats, and possession-wise, they had the better possession by far. But when you look at shots on targets and overall shots, we had quite a bit difference. So the most important thing is not to give them any opportunities in front of our goal.
Now, Eric Bird with that strike very early in the second half. What did you see in that play?
Well, it was just a good ball movement. I think we have, we keep talking about moving the ball from side to side, so we were able to go from the right. Carlos all the way to the left, with, to find Jesus, and obviously he finds Bird, who's just dashing to the middle. Was able to receive it and finish it. With the second touch. So, fantastic goal for him.
Very, very limited minutes for your new acquisition, Deshane Beckford. Talk about his performance just in those limited minutes.
Why so many little minutes?
No,
his performance.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, I thought in the time that he had, he created 2 chances, stole the ball and looked to get behind the defense. I mean, he's a player that has a lot of pace, and it's someone that can stretch the defense. He's very skillful going 1v1, and so he just got here, so we're getting into the he needs to get into the rhythm, into what it is that we need to do, and but we see that he's a young player with a bright future.
So despite the scoring opportunity that we had, obviously tonight we played pretty well up front, created a lot of opportunities with our different forwards and midfielders. Something that we talked about is they possess the ball a lot. So how do you assess the team's ability to kind of take advantage of those small opportunities that we had tonight on the pitch?
Well, it's just a matter of making sure. I still think that with some of the shots that we had, we still missed or got blocked. So I think we need to be just a little bit more refined in that. In the first half, there were moments I think we were too bunched in, and we were getting in the way of each other instead of being able to spread the field out. So that's something that we need to do. Obviously, we started playing with 2 number 9s and 2 true forwards, which is something interesting that we had done earlier in the year, but we did it when we were kind of in need of a goal, and those guys had done it. So we said, hey, why not? Why not start from the beginning, from the start, and give those 2 guys a go, especially with the fact that the first team Houston that's kind of been adopted now playing with 2 forwards. So, we mimic a little bit of that, and, we'll see how it works out for us.
What are your thoughts on that connection between Michael Salazar and Carlos Small and this new formation that you're trying?
Well, I think it's important. There's 2 guys that can score goals. There are 2 leading scorers, so why not have them on the field at the same time? And so I thought it worked out well. There's still some kinks. Obviously, they need to train it, and the more they're around each other, it'll probably be a little bit easier. Unfortunately, Michael just got here yesterday, so they didn't have a chance to train together. But I think the more they have in common, the more they train together, this could be something that will be very interesting. We're not just all of a sudden just change everything around. It's just we got to have something a little bit extra, something different, just in case the team prepares for us, and we got to have something up our sleeve.
Next match against Austin Bold, the final Copa Tejas match. What would you take from this match to apply against Austin in Austin?
Well, I think it's important for us first and foremost. When we were here, we we gave up one chance, and that's because we tried to dribble out of the back. We got picked off, and that's the only true opportunity they had. So for the most part, I thought our game plan was pretty good. We had quite a few chances, and we didn't punish them. At the end of the day, too, they were kind of older, wiser, and they managed the game with a lot of interruptions and gamesmanship and stuff like that. So we need to make sure that we get in front of them. That doesn't become a part of it. We got to get ahead. We can't concede any goals. They have two terrific, they have some terrific attacking players. So we have to make sure that we minimize their chances and their looks on goal.
One of the characteristics of Austin Bold has been their experience. The game where Austin Bold came to HB Park, it seemed like they were using that experience to get into the Toros players' heads. As somebody who has played professionally and has coached in collegiate and now in professional, what can you tell these players to avoid that kind of?
When you're ahead, nothing gets in your head. So we can't be chasing the game. I think that's the most important thing. So I think, we need to, just worry about what we can control. Whatever they say, whatever they do is fine. We need to be quicker, more dynamic, and move the ball faster. That's something we didn't do. We were very, very lackadaisical on the ball the last time we have here, and we didn't make them run enough. So we need to make sure that we press them a little harder and that we move the ball a little faster to make them run, see if they can stay with our young legs.
So that was Coach Echeverry after the match. So a couple of things to point out is, number one, you guys, a lot of you guys probably don't believe us when we say that Coach Echeverry understands how this Dynamo loan process affects his the way he prepares for these matches. You just heard it right there. He wants to try a new formation to use our best strikers, which are Carlos Small and Michael Salazar, but he knows they can only get better when they train alongside each other. When you have a player coming in the night before and not train with his partner, who's going to be his partner in that match, it's going to take longer for them to understand what to do when come game time. So, and I put that question because Matt Jordan was going to be on Soccer Matters tonight at 7 here in Houston. I put that question on Facebook. If Matt Jordan is going to allow these players more time that he's going to loan to RGV more time at RGV to train with Gerson Echeverry and with the teammates, because that's the easiest thing to improve, and I think it's gonna make a huge improvement to RGVFC as well, because you're gonna have players that are fringe or have played a couple matches in MLS, so they'll have that experience, but you're also going to have a little bit more chemistry between them when you have them there for a while. And so that's what Coach Echeverry mentioned about Michael Salazar and Carlos Small. What did you think, with this match, what did you think about that pairing? Do you agree with that there was work to be done?
Well, I think, of course, there's always going to be work that needs to be done. I think nothing's ever going to be perfect. And, of course, it just takes more playing together, more working together for sure. We're talking about Chuy Enriquez coming back into form, kind of. And what I mean by that is, well, in the long run, we kind of didn't necessarily talk bad about him, but we knew he could do a lot more. He was just a bit plain throughout this, halfway through this season or whatever. So now, of course, he's coming back and he's looking more electric, in my opinion. Yeah, of course, there's still work to be done. It's just communication. It's just getting more chemistry for sure. And there's always going to need to be work done. You're talking about missing a couple of opportunities at goal. And I think once really those get fixed and once we can really take a lot of corners and things like that, because remember, Drew's going to be a part of that, and on counters and things like of that nature with that pairing, it's going to be beautiful. But of course, there's still work to be done. There always will be work to be done. It's just, well, it can only go, the only way is up.
So I'm being told that I mentioned about Matt Jordan being on Soccer Matters. Yeah, I knew it was going to happen. I knew he was going to give the same old canned responses, his PR, his typical politician / PR responses. So, sadly, it seems like Matt Jordan is going to be, it's going to be same old with Matt Jordan. Unlike what I thought was the problem with this, the way they've handled this being Wilmer, maybe it was true that Matt Jordan is responsible for this. Hashtag sorry Wilmer. Your face is like, really?
Because I had called it and no one listened. That is why. Of course I'm going to give that face when I knew it.
Oh my god. Somebody needs to make a highlight of this and post it on social media. That was just hilarious. Oh my god. Somebody needs to make that into an emote. But yeah. Another thing that was brought up in this interview. Why do I feel sleepy all of a sudden? One of the things that was also brought up in this interview was when I asked him about, Austin get into our players' heads. And, I liked and I agree with what Coach Echeverri said about, hey, if they're going to be chasing us, then it doesn't matter what they do. It's like we're as long as we set the tone of this match, doesn't matter how they can get into our heads. Because when they're losing, they're not going to spend their time. They're not going to go out of their way to get in our heads. They're going to be too busy trying to get the equalizer or at least get one goal back, in this match. And what we see and what we saw against San Antonio, what we saw against El Paso, now this team has learned how to be canchero. They understood how to use their time to their advantage, how to kind of get away with bending the rules a little bit with wasting time. I get what else? Yeah, pretty much. Wasting time. Most of the thing. I mean, against San Antonio, you saw. Kevin Rodriguez got a yellow for taking too long to come out. There were a couple of times where Robert Coronado or Andrew Samuels were gonna take a throw in. And they faked like they dropped the ball, or they kind of let the ball go away past them to try to burn a couple of extra seconds. So we know that this team has learned how to do that and is able to implement it. And if push comes to shove, we know that this team, if they're winning, they've learned how to manage their time. And I think that is going to be a key. If the Toros have a lead, I think this is going to be the best opportunity to show what they've got, that they're not kids anymore, that they have matured closer into being an actual professional soccer player.
Yeah, it's going to be key for them, especially when they're in the lead. They know how to manage time, like exactly what you said. And one thing that I do want to point out is, walking onto the field after the game, after the El Paso Locomotive game, and just seeing how happy the players were, of course, getting to win at home, which was huge, in front of one of the bigger crowds that we've had this year. Of course, nothing compared to what our stadium is capable of filling up. But just talking about that, it was it was awesome to see how the players were, especially even Chuy Enriquez after that, because he was so filled with excitement, filled with, momentum kind of moving forward, just due to the fact that they beat their rivals, and also he technically made the assist on the goal.
And he was telling me, Chuy Enriquez was telling me that, he knows he could have gotten some more assists. I mean, that play where Carlos Small missed, that was a Chuy pass. That would have been another assist for him. And I think he had one more key pass that could have been another, that had it gone in, it would have been another assist for Chuy Enriquez. So Chuy Enriquez is getting back on the groove, Another thing I do want to point out, now that you went into that topic and going back with this whole difference between the Dynamo squad and the RGV squad, let me tell you something right now, and I've said it on social media, and I'll go ahead and say it right in front of the camera. This Houston Dynamo squad, a lot of these players are showing a real lack of professionalism, a real lack of heart, and a real lack of athletic dignity. Because you look at these RGVFC players, you go back 2 weeks ago against San Antonio, down a man early in the match, down 2-0. The Dynamo would have already folded their hands and, you know what, fuck it, let's just, whatever happens at the end, it doesn't matter. No, these guys, Chuy Enriquez, hey, come on, guys. We can still salvage something. He was there hyping up his teammates at halftime. Like, you saw it, like, he's like, hey, don't give up, come on, we can do this. Robert Coronado was having some key interceptions, some key clearances. So did Connor Donovan. Carlos Small getting those goals. What do we see against, and this was against their rival. So we're comparing apples to apples here. So don't give me this crap that, you're comparing apples to oranges. We're comparing apples to apples here. Because this was both of these games that I'm talking about are rivalries. Okay? So you have San Antonio RGVFC, 2-0 down. They're able to get 2-2 with a man down, mind you. When nobody gave a damn about thought that they would be able to do it. You look at this, and now you look at the Frisco match. Rivalry game away. 5-1 is the final result. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that your affiliate team has more heart and more dignity in them than your first team players. We need more Chuy Enriquez's. We need less Romel Kyoto's in this organization. It's like I said, it's embarrassing, and I hope they're embarrassed of themselves the way they've been showing up. And I hope this match against Frisco was a wake-up call for them. But the point of the matter is, going back to after the match, Chuy Enriquez comes up to me and he asks me, "Hey man, like how's the standings?" I show him, well, I wish I could say good, but San Antonio was beating New Mexico United, or I don't know who were they beating 4-0, and then Oklahoma was beating Austin. I think they were beating Austin. I think it was Austin, but it was because they were 4-2, right? OKC. And San Antonio was beating New Mexico 4-0, right? So those results weren't really going to help the Toros get closer to the playoff spot, right? And then obviously Chuy Enriquez is kind of bummed that, well, it didn't get us any closer. But what really struck me really well was right after he said, "Don't worry, man. We're going to keep on trying. We're going to push until the very end, and we're going to make it to playoffs." Yep. Like, they have that motivation of fighting for this team, for supporting, representing the Toros, representing this crest. They have dignity. They have self-respect, respect for the organization, respect for the fans. That's more than I can say for some Dynamo players, especially Romel Kyoto. Le ponen, like I say in Spanish, le ponen producto H. They put eggs. And I hope that this kind of mentality that is brewing up in the Toros organization can. I guess what I'm trying to say is hopefully everybody else sees this. But number one, let's hope that Matt Jordan makes the correct decision and keeps these players, because these players have the potential to be franchise players for the Toros. You know, the legends, fan favorites like Chu Enriquez, like Robert Coronado, because like Robert Castellanos, because of that effort that they put in. The fact that they're week in, week out, win, lose or draw, they put their faces out. And if they messed up, look at Robert Coronado. He messed up against Austin Bold. He dealt with it. He said, "Yes, this is my fault. It's not gonna. I'm gonna work that. It's never gonna happen again." And what happened? He worked for it to make himself better.
Yeah.
Because let's not forget, Kyoto said the same thing, never changed. And Robert Coronado pulled up his bootstraps. He said, "I'm working. I want to be better. I want to prove to the Houston Dynamo that I am the better choice between him and Sam Junqua." He didn't say that. He didn't say that word by word. But what I'm getting at, he wants to prove that we don't need to bring in Sam Junqua to be good defensively, and he's shown it. Yes, Sam Junqua has gotten good, but it's not. You can't say that. Oh, we need Sam Junqua to play well defensively. We don't. We have Coronado there. We can do good with Coronado. We can do better with Robert Coronado. All right?
Yeah. Exactly. It's something that is great to see. We're seeing fight for
but what I'm getting at, he wants
players in general. We're seeing fight for a playoff spot in general, and we all know that this is, of course, the hole that the Toros technically dug themselves, as in, well, they kind of, in a sense, need to win out or basically not lose. So, and of course, they're ready for that challenge, which is amazing. And it all starts with Austin Bold, once again on the road. If you can prove that you can beat a team on the road, if you can prove that you can, well, just compete with the team and have a chance to win on the road and then win the rest of your home games, that is huge.
So we have on the line Ray Silva. He wants to join in this discussion. Ray, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. Good evening. How are you guys?
Doing pretty good. We're getting into a little bit of a heated, not an argument against each other, but like this is getting into a passionate topic about RGVFC and the Dynamo. So you were telling me right now that you wanted to bring in your 2 cents on the subject, man. So the floor is yours.
Okay. I will say this much. I mean, I wrote my game recap for Dynamo Theory. Still hasn't been published, and yet my preview here for the Austin Bold match is that I think we're gonna have to play the way we did against San Antonio, like we did Colorado Springs these last two road outings. If we're gonna get any type of result moving forward.
Yeah,
I mean, for me, it just seems that we're gonna have to be real precise in the midfield, and I think the boatload of the work is gonna have to go through Isidro Chelo Martinez.
So you believe that the engine of this team has to rely on Chelin?
Not necessarily fully rely on Chelin, but he has been like he has been like the catalyst of this team per se. I mean, Chewy has been hitting form recently, so that might be another key cog in this upcoming road game. Robert Coronado being solid in the back line like he has. I mean, almost all season long. So it's going to be one of those gritty games that if we play the way the team's been playing, they might go in there and get a shock result.
Would that really be that shocking if RGFC were to win on the road? I don't think so with the form that they've been playing for the past 3 games, though.
True,
We're talking about coming off of a win against your rival that you shut up on the road in the season, which was El Paso.
And Jacob, I think you're forgetting one thing. You are what your record says on the road, only 1 win. And mind you, this is already in late April when we last got it. So it's been almost 4 months, almost 5 months now since the team has gone out on the road. Yet their form and shape has improved a little bit since then. But until then, the record still says otherwise, only 1 road win.
I wouldn't say their form has improved a little. I'd say their form has improved a lot. You're talking about a full circle where they had to play without attackers, basically, with bench warmer attackers, and then having to deal with Houston. They have improved a lot since April, or since, of course, that whole July season with all those losses and with people coming off of form.
But I think the bigger question here is: have they improved enough to make up for that lost time from those changes in roster? I don't think so.
Well, I think they've improved enough to get a win on the road.
But to make.
I agree with Jacob. I think they've done enough work to at least garner a road win. I do agree with Jake in that regard. But is there enough time to make up for whatever has been lost in the season?
And that's what I'm getting.
I'll take Edson's side.
Yeah, it's that. Of course, there I'll agree with you, Edson. Yeah, I don't think it will be, of course, enough, because you've got to go on a crazy, crazy streak, which don't get me wrong, that is very possible. We have seen it done once. Of course, yes, technically there were better players, ex-MLS players, but that doesn't mean that USL players can't do that themselves as well. So it could happen, but of course, likely not so much. So that's where, yes, I will have to agree with you, Edson, that, yeah, we'll probably miss the playoffs barely. But you're talking about getting silverware in Jerson's second year with, yes, some can say it's a little silly rivalry, which one of the teams technically isn't even rivals with everyone else. But at the same time, the improvement is real, and the improvement is what RGV fans and Houston fans actually want to see, is that fight, that charisma. And right there, to win a trophy, win silverware against rivals is huge, and I think that can happen.
You know, one of the things, because people may try to minimize, well, Copa Tejas isn't really an official trophy or an official tournament. But think about it. In order to win Copa Tejas, you had to be better than every other Texas team throughout against each other. So you're proving yourself, if you win it, to be the top dog in Texas, against everybody else. So, and that comes from winning actual games in the USL season. And if you have the opportunity to win it, I say go for it. Go for it, win it, bring something for the fans, because at least if it does happen, if RGV does win it, That's one more trophy that they've lifted over their parents' club. Ray?
Yeah, and it's something that I do agree with you, Edson. I mean, if there's some sort of pride and dignity left in the season, why not go for it? I mean, the team is due for like a road win. I mean, their improvement has shown, and I just think that the Toros, I think they have enough elements to go out there and actually get that road result.
Yeah, like I said in my prediction, I think it might be it's going to be a close match. That I feel like it's going to be decided in the last minutes of this match. Because we have to give credit to Austin. You know that they have been. The Bolt Stadium has been a fortress for them in this season, and it's not going to be a walk in the park for either team to get the 3 points in this match, especially with silverware literally being on the line.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I mean, that within itself, that still Austin has a couple of games in hand, one with us. And of course, the last game against El Paso that they have. But I do fancy our chances of going up there and getting sorry, Jacob, but getting a shock result. That we might go up there and surprise a few people on the road. I mean, yes, we've been surprising people on the road, but now it's time to get the full reward.
Agreed. So, what is your prediction for that match?
I said 3-1.
3-1.
I said we come out of the gates firing away. We come out firing away within the first 25 minutes of the match.
Mm-hmm.
We're solid in the back line. I don't think our starting lineup will change. Therefore, I kind of like our chances. The only one change I would see, just to give a little bit of a different look, would be a start for the newcomer Beckford.
So yeah, the Shane Beckford. So what can you tell us? I know you've kind of looked at a little bit on the background of the Shane Beckford. What can you tell us about this player?
You know, here's an odd story. One evening before the Beckford thing even became official, I was watching the Pan American games in my bedroom, and it was Peru and Jamaica playing in the game, where Peru needed like something of 3 goals to score in order to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, I see this blazing number 10 in the yellow jersey just break down the entire Peru defense, make a run, and then score one of those unbelievable goals. So, okay, Jamaica up 1-0, okay, silence the crowd a little bit. And then, once again, they build up play in the midfield, and you see Beckford streaking down. They lob the ball, catch the entire back line napping, and he just puts it past the keeper, goes around the keeper and puts it in the net for a second wonderful goal. I'm all like, man, where did this guy come from? And needless to say, about a month later, we're getting this guy on loan. And Jacob, what a wonderful dog you have going on back here in the background. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking forward to seeing what Shane Beckford does. It's a shame that the loan is only until the end of the season. But I'm really looking forward to see what he can bring what kind of spark he can bring to the table. You know, this was.
I tell you what, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Camilo Monroy, but just a little bit more offensive. I tell you that much. I mean, Camilo Monroy, yes, he's young. He's a nice, speedy talent, But I think this Beckford is like the full complement. It's like he's going to be a little bit more of that risk taker that we need from the midfield.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, we do have guys that love to take risk in the midfield to go up and attack, create chances. But I just feel like Beckford is that like complete player despite being wrong. And I think under the tutelage of Coach Echeverry, I think he can finish up forming and polishing off that player to really make him that complete attacking midfielder.
So do you see Beckford being a starter, or do you see him as a super sub? Because he looked really well when he came off the bench against El Paso.
He can do both. I mean, why not? He can really do both, in my opinion. But if I had to really choose one, I would like for him to start, just to give that team another look on the attack. Even though he might be playing a little bit back in the midfield,
Mm-hmm.
he's the prototypical guy that loves to get into runs and get involved in the attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's not going to be your defensive midfielder where he's going to stop attacks and then just find the offensive catalyst and get the attack going that way. No. This guy, like if the team is trying to get out of its back line, and if he can steal the ball, be careful with that, because he's the type of guy that can create the space and create the other opportunities for like small Salazar, and hopefully we get back into Nia soon.
So I know you've been to Toros practices firsthand. So
Yes.
Have you been able to see Aldo in practices, and if so, what have you seen from him?
He's been doing a lot of conditioning work. Right now he's like he is training with the team. Because of the injury that he sustained, yes, he's had to do a lot of isolated work, but he has been doing a lot of touching of the ball, a lot of the speed of agility drills. But he might be a guy that, let's be honest, the type of injury that he had, we may not even see him on the pitch. But if he feels comfortable enough, and if the team physios feel good enough, and if he gets that medical clearance that he's ready to rock and roll, I mean, hey, why not? I mean, I would love to see him for like the last 15, 20 minutes of a match just to get him a feel for a competitive game.
Yeah, it's one of those things I was kind of discussing with Jacob. It's kind of those kind of injuries that you don't want to rush. Because I know he made a comment, before, that he was hoping to be back by August, and we're nearing September, and he's still rehabilitating. It's one of those injuries where you can't rush this, because you run into the risk of falling back on and worsening that same injury, and you really don't want to take that risk where it's going to be harder to come back from. So yeah. And I think, like I said, barring your opinion, and I think with what we have right now with Carlos Small, the occasional loan of Michael Salazar, and Kevin Rodriguez, even
Eric Bird. I mean, let's not forget about Eric Bird. I mean, he's been down here for almost 7 weeks now,
mm-hmm.
and boy, has he recovered his form a little bit with that goal that he scored. I mean, hey, if the Dynamo can somehow keep a hold of Bird, I mean, hey, why not? I mean, I like the projection of this team, And
it's interesting that how well Eric Bird has gelled with the rest of his teammates, with Isidro Martinez, and helping out on the attack with Carlos, Chuy, and either Camilo or Kevin Rodriguez. I think he's...
Or even Andres Arcila. Let's not forget about Lefty.
Arcila as well. Yeah. And it almost brings me back, and I know Carson has made that comment. You're wondering, well, what year is this? Because this is like, it seems like this is the Eric Bird that we had before he left for the Houston Dynamo. You know, is very, very explosive. You know, very participative in the attack. And he's actually done decent, because let's not forget, if he's been being played as kind of a defensivist midfield, un contención con salida, like they say in Spanish. You know, it's a defensive midfielder that has some sort of offensive capabilities to help out on the attack, and he's done it so well. Like, he's imagine,
you know, another broadcaster that has brought that up to my attention is Cesar Chapa of Televisa Univision Deportes radio network. Back when the games were broadcasted, when Eric Bird would come down for year 3, he goes, "Hey, is that Eric Bird, or is that another player?" I go, "No, that's Eric Bird playing for Houston Dynamo in the position that they want him to play in." And I tell him, "He's a little bit more explosive now, isn't he?" And they're all like, "Yep, I can tell what they're trying to do with him in Houston." So it's one of those things that he's like a project in the making, per se.
The only thing that I hope they have the patience to keep him at least one more year, because as far as I know, I think his contract runs out at the end of the season.
Yep.
The problem with him is that he had an early injury, basically, in his Houston career for Eric Bird. And that's really what stunted his, I guess, kind of growth in a way. And let's recall, what does the actual coach want? And that's a huge thing, because we don't know who we're going to get as head coach anymore. Do I really care? Not anymore, because, well, they pick the coach and they're going to fire that coach 3 years later no matter what. Yet the problem, of course, always being front office. So that's the problem, is we've had a couple of players like that have an injury at the beginning of their time with Houston Dynamo, and then later on maybe let go just due to the fact that they didn't grow the way that they wanted them to. Yet, let alone, of course, a 1 year stunted their growth.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a recurring issue. Like I said, I just hope that Matt Jordan, like I said, has a lot more patience on Bird, on Chewy, and all these players that have shown to be good in the USL, that have embraced RGVFC, and just build up on it rather than having to tear down and rebuild like we do almost every year or 2 years. But Ray, anything else you want to add?
Oh, and one more thing. Nicolas Perea joining Indy 11.
I saw that.
That kind of hurt me a little bit.
I saw that. He was actually, to me, he was a very what's the word I'm looking for? He was undervalued. I think he was a very undervalued player for the Toros this past season. You know, this was a player that in year 2 he was riding the bench, and come year 3 he made a really good pairing alongside of Todd Warden in that midfield. And you saw his growth, and now he's back now with Indy 11. Let's see how he does. Let's see if he's able to earn a starting spot back with Indy. Just the best of luck to him, like I told him.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that I like his production that he brought to the table with the team.
Mm-hmm. Jacob?
Yep. It should be a fun one, and that was a very interesting signing indeed. Of course, I mean, that just will always hurt RGV more than help. But of course, as Sean would always say, well, maybe he wasn't cut out for the MLS. Maybe he's just cut out for, of course, USL, and will stay there and probably not grow as much as could have and things of that nature. So, well, only time, of course, will tell if that was the correct move for him, and we'll see for the future. Now, on a quick little side note, Wilmer Cabrera gets his win for Montreal Impact.
Crómalo.
What a douche.
I'm just messing with you, Jacob. Bathe them and drink them. Jeez. No, I'm just messing. You know, I was talking to him before you called, Ray. You know, I gave him, you know, I told him, you know, at the end of the day, he might have been right about Wilmer Cabrera. Maybe he wasn't the biggest issue in the Houston Dynamo, and if any of its problems, including the way that they handle the loans, towards RGV. You know, I think this may be a Matt Jordan issue. Because I was telling him that today he was on Soccer Matters here in Houston, and I was told that he was given the same old canned PR politician responses. You know, where he talks a lot and doesn't say anything at the same time.
Man, that just rolled off smoothly, Edson. I got to give that to you.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, hopefully things will get better and we continue to build off, because I think this team has shown promise of a decent team, and if you add to this team a couple of key pieces and keep this lineup consistently and stop, you know, grabbing players, you know, just like if you're getting bread at the supermarket, you know, from talking about the Houston Dynamo. And this team has the potential, even with its farm team label, they have the potential to be continuously fighting for playoffs. But you have to let it grow. That's the biggest issue I have with Matt Jordan.
You know, oh man, maybe I'll save this point for next week, depending on the game result, because I don't want to reference the Toros to another USL championship team, but I'll wait for that one for next week. But in another former Toro news, and Edson, get ready to give me the treatment. Cal Murphy with the equalizer over in Loudoun United. It's okay, Edson. I'll give you my shoulder to lean on.
Yeah, here, that's another player that should have deserved another opportunity. But I mean, as long as he's doing good, it should be fine. I mean, it helps that he's playing in the Eastern Conference, so he's not really a direct rival of the Toros. Yeah, just like Charlie Ward and Callum Irving with Ottawa Fury in the Eastern Conference as well. Clockwork Charlie. But all right, man. Any final thoughts, Ray?
Flamingo lost today to Greenville Triumph.
Why you gotta keep on piling up the bad news, bro?
I don't know, but that rolling off of Jacob came pretty well, though.
Oh man, are you a Mingo hater, Jacob? Is that
No.
Is that what happened? No, I'm talking to Jacob. I'm talking to Jacob.
I don't think so. I don't know really what you asked.
Yeah, do you hate Forward Madison?
Not. I don't know.
Because you're not full Mingo, I can tell. But yeah, we're getting off topic. But Ray, thanks for calling and giving your thoughts as well on the Toros. Guys, be sure if y'all are still watching, be sure to go ahead and subscribe to his channel, South Texas Border Sports, where he uploads.
Where I have recently been adding UTRGV stuff now. I think on Friday I might be going out to Toros practice to get some interviews there before they go to Austin.
Yeah, that'll be really really good. Kind of to hype up this last Copa Tejas match for RGVFC, and hopefully we can bring some silverware back. Although I wish I would have been in Austin this time, but why was I not born a millionaire, man? Maldita pobreza, güey. But Ray, thank you so much for everything that you do. Like I said, guys, go ahead and subscribe to his channel, South Texas Border Sports, and be sure to follow him on Twitter as well, at STX Border Sports. I think that's what it is. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct. Correct.
Yeah. So at STX Border Sports, be sure to follow him there. And thank you for calling, and hope to see you next time, Ray.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right, man. Have a good night.
Good night.
Jacob, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Looking forward to this, I guess, final Copa Tejas match for us. And yeah, it should be a fantastic one. And I mean, in the long run, I think that RGVFC can take this. It's going to be a long run for the playoffs, but for sure, I think they can really win Copa Tejas. And then it's just, of course, they've just got to be not on fire, but they just have to be focused. That's really it. As long as they're focused, they'll be fine.
How salty will San Antonio fans be if RGVFC win Copa Tejas, bro?
I don't even know. Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, like, this is technically a trophy that San Antonio fans created, and for its first year for their arch rival to win it. Oh my God, this is gonna be so glorious. So Chewy, if you're listening to me right now, I need you to troll San Antonio one last time this season, and let's make sure we win Copa Tejas this Saturday, bro.
Troll them. Get the team fired up. Get them fired up.
We have the opportunity. Let's take it for many reasons. But Let's continue this tradition of trolling San Antonio supporters.
Considering that San Antonio supporters and everyone were saying, oh, we've kind of gone away from RGVFC being our rivals.
Oh, that's right.
A rival with Austin Bold now. I do recall them saying that.
That's right. I do remember that.
So it will even be that much sweeter. Once again, I'm going to say this, and this is to Austin and also to San Antonio. Revenge is best served piping hot. Revenge is a best dish served piping hot, and that was from Ian Dark in the 2014 World Cup when USA beat Ghana. To be exact, I did not create that quote, but that is still relevant to this. Because it's revenge to Austin, and it's also revenge to San Antonio for just them saying those exact words.
But mostly San Antonio. So, guys, if you haven't done so already, be sure to like this video. Be sure to share it and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. We hope to see you all next week, next Wednesday at 7 p.m. as well, to talk more RGVFC news, reactions to this Copa Tejas match. Hopefully we can have a party going on because we won the Copa Tejas. But if you guys enjoyed, be sure to also follow our social media. Be sure to follow at Down in the RGV. On Twitter and on Instagram. Cisco, we're about to sign out, as well as of course follow our personal social media. Mine is at eochoa_8 on Instagram and on Twitter. Jacob?
Mine is Jacob Young 456 on Twitter. Jacob Young 99 on Instagram.
And be sure, and also don't forget to give a shout out to your Twitch channel.
Sure. Twitch channel is the Overreactor Gamer. Don't know why I created that long of a name.
But it's a good name, though. It's a good name.
Apparently, it's a good name. Yeah. And YouTube is tip of Texas Sports Network. I normally stream the races on both.
Yeah, so be sure to check out his gaming channels. He's got a lot of racing stuff. If you guys love F1, NASCAR, any kind of racing, be sure to subscribe to his channels or follow. I think it's follow on Twitch and subscribe on YouTube, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can also subscribe on Twitch too, but that costs.
That's a financial support with
financial
on Twitch.
support. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to financially support me, sure.
Of course. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next episode of Down in the Valley. Take care.